an interview, never once she said that she loved Harry. Once. He said, I fell in love with this girl and I hope she loves me too. And she just smiled and didn't even look at him straight in the face.
Who, when they're not even hurt, try to play the victim. And that's what these two did. In all the cities in the world, this is the last one they should have done. I certainly don't want my children looking to her for an example of any of that. So yes, I think she's lost what remaining
They say the past never really dies. And for Meghan Markle, that couldn't be truer. She thought the whispers were gone, buried under tiaras, royal speeches, and Netflix deals. But behind those royal smiles, someone had receipts, real ones. The kind that could shatter reputations and rewrite royal history in one click. Long before the palaces, titles, and polished interviews, Meghan wasn't a duchess, she was a dreamer. A girl with stars in her eyes and a hunger that never slept. And then came Joe Giuliano, young, charming, and hopelessly in love. He believed in forever, even if forever began in a tiny Vegas chapel right next to a casino. If the whispers are to be believed, that's exactly what happened. A quiet wedding, no guests, no glamour, just 2 signatures and a lifetime's worth of secrets. Joe's family? They didn't buy the Meghan act for a second. From the first dinner, his mother could smell the ambition behind that perfect smile. Meghan wasn't there for love, she was there for leverage. Every word, every move was too perfect, too rehearsed, like she was auditioning for a role the rest of them couldn't see yet. At family dinners, while everyone chatted about work or holidays, Meghan kept turning the spotlight back to herself, Hollywood dreams, manifesting fame, saying she was meant for more. Joe's mother called it delusional. His sister? Dangerous. Meghan wasn't chasing dreams, she was plotting her climb. Whenever she and Joe argued, she never cried or begged.
So I fell in love with Meghan so incredibly quickly. It was a confirmation of me. She didn't trip into your life.
She just stared calm, distant, like she was already packing for her next chapter. Joe's father once told a friend, she didn't love him. She loved the idea of what he could give her. And when it ended, Meghan didn't even look back. She ghosted him before ghosting was even a trend. Joe's mom later said bitterly, that girl wasn't built for love, she was built for opportunity. And looking at her now, the crown, the cameras, the chaos, it's hard to argue she was wrong. Then things got messy. For years, that rumor about Meghan's secret Vegas wedding floated around like smoke until someone tried to follow it. And suddenly, the trail went ice cold. According to locals, there was once a marriage certificate between Meghan Markle and Joe Giuliano, but when reporters started sniffing around, it vanished. Poof. Gone, as if it never existed. One Vegas clerk even claimed, that file was there, I saw it, then one day it wasn't. Official records don't just disappear unless someone wants them to. When investigative author Tom Bauer caught wind of the rumor, he went digging, literally, chapel logs, dusty ledgers, ex-employees, and witnesses who swore they remembered a young woman, brown hair, Hollywood smile, nervous energy, getting married in the late 90 seconds.
Last week after I heard that ridiculous speech, and I was thinking, what is Meghan Markle's cause? You know, for Princess Diana, it was the plight of eating disorders, specifically bulimia. It was the plight of AIDS
victims. Didn't fit Meghan too well. But when he went looking for the certificate, nothing. No proof. Just whispers, panic, and a sudden cleanup. Insiders claim that the moment Meghan heard Bauer was poking around, calls were made, and everything got wiped fast. Coincidence? Please. In Meghan's world, nothing is coincidence, everything's curated. If she really buried that record, it wasn't to hide a fling. It was to erase an identity, one that didn't fit the Duchess of Sussex narrative she built later. The deeper people dug, the stranger things got. School files, early acting bios, even local magazines. The math didn't add up. One document listed her as 21 inches, 1,997, but her official birth date said she should have been 16. That's not a typo, that's a 5-year hole in her timeline. Once people began comparing photos and interviews, the inconsistencies started to scream. It looked like someone had been editing their own history. Hollywood insiders whispered she had tweaked her age maybe to get older roles, or worse, to make that Vegas wedding seem legal. If true, that's not just a fib, that's premeditated. Then, like magic, everyone who might have known her back then, friends, neighbors, classmates, went silent. Calls unanswered, social media wiped. It was like someone hit delete on her early life. That's when people started to wonder maybe it wasn't embarrassment she was hiding, maybe it was protection.
3 areas where Princess Diana changed the world. What's Meghan Markle's cause? And I thought about it a lot. And actually, it's herself.
Because if those missing years were ever pieced together, they could expose something bigger than a teenage marriage. And slowly, one pattern emerged. Meghan didn't just rewrite her story, she deleted it, 1 year at a time until only the version she wanted remained. The age rumor has haunted Meghan for years, that quiet buzz that never dies. On paper, she was born in 1981, but go through her old modeling cards and early interviews, you'll find 1,980 here, 1,979 there. Even an old magazine called her 21 when she was supposed to be 16. One time, maybe. But over and over? That's a pattern. Hollywood insiders believe she shaved off a few years, a common trick, sure, but here's where it turns darker. If she was older, then that secret Vegas marriage wasn't some impulsive teen mistake. It was legal and real. When those inconsistencies began resurfacing, panic allegedly hit Meghan's circle. People were told not to discuss anything before 2001. That's not gossip control, that's a cover-up. Even her friends admit she's obsessed with controlling her image. Every headline, every narrative, every number. But when the math doesn't match, the questions start. Because for Meghan, age isn't just a number. It's the foundation of the story she built, the fairy tale of the modern Duchess. And when that timeline starts cracking, the entire empire shakes. For years, Joe Giuliano stayed quiet. He moved on, new life, new city, new wife, while Meghan turned reinvention into royalty. But when whispers of their past got too loud, someone close to Joe finally spoke. They said Joe never forgot her. How could he? You don't forget a woman who rewrites herself like a novel and tears out every page you were on. He once said, she was always chasing something she couldn't name. I was just a stop along the way. He wasn't angry, just stunned.
Now, it's been updated to early 2016. And this is, I just want to show you guys because I want you guys to understand.
He remembered how she could make you believe you were part of her destiny until she moved on. When people showed him photos of Meghan in royal gowns, he laughed softly, saying she always wanted a crown, she just didn't care where it came from. And maybe that's Meghan in a sentence, not a villain, not a victim, just a woman who refused to settle for average. And Joe, he was just the chapter she had to erase to make her story perfect. When those Vegas wedding rumors started catching steam again, Buckingham Palace reportedly went into meltdown, not because of what it said about Meghan, but what it said about them. The royals had survived scandals before, but this was different. American tabloid gold. Behind closed doors, aides scrambled. Files were checked, background reports reread, old press statements re-verified. Because if that Vegas wedding was real, it wouldn't just embarrass Meghan, it would expose the monarchy's vetting process as a joke. One insider allegedly confessed the idea that a duchess could have been married in Vegas of all places was a nightmare. The palace wanted fairy tales, not wedding receipts. And Meghan? Calm. Perfect posture, that flawless smile, but those who know her say she was furious not because of the rumor, but because she couldn't control it. For someone who's built her life on crafting the perfect image, losing control of the story is worse than being exposed. For once, Meghan wasn't shaping the headlines were shaping her. The moment the Vegas talk reignited, Hollywood started buzzing like a live wire. Former co-stars, assistants, stylists, suddenly everyone remembered something. One Suits colleague allegedly said she used to joke about being married once before fame. We thought she was kidding. Another claimed Meghan never talked about her early 20 if someone asked her, she'd laugh or switch topics. Those were my chaos years. Well, that chaos has returned and it's louder than ever. Because Hollywood forgives ambition. It forgives betrayal. It forgives reinvention. But the one thing it never forgives? Lies. Especially when they're dressed in royal silk. The more people talked, the more Meghan's perfect image cracked. The inspirational speeches, the media control, the spotless narrative, it all began to look like a mask, a very expensive one. Everyone has a past, but not everyone spends their life pretending it didn't exist. Meghan's mistake wasn't having one, it was thinking she could outshine it forever. When the story broke, the headlines were merciless. Meghan's secret Vegas.
Meghan Markle.
That's exactly right. And what they say in the speech was, her status as a cultural catalyst based on her core belief that representation matters.
Marriage, Duchess of Deception, erased, past exposed. The tabloids went wild and Meghan's team went into battle mode. Lawyers threatened defamation suits everywhere. But every denial only added oxygen to the fire. Reporters dug deeper old neighbors, schoolmates, landlords, each with a slightly different version of who Meghan was. It wasn't one big lie, it was 1,000 tiny ones, stitched together so precisely that when you looked at them all, they told a story of a woman who didn't just become famous, she constructed her fame. Royal commentators started comparing her to Wallis Simpson, and by then, the damage was done. The fairy tale Duchess image was gone, replaced by a sharper one. Meghan, the architect of her own legend. And here's the truth, love her or hate her, she knew exactly what she was doing. When Joe's family finally broke their silence, word is Meghan cried. Not from guilt, from exhaustion. For years, she'd been running. from her past, sculpting her identity, fighting to stay in control of her own story. Now, the story was fighting back. Friends said she locked herself away for days, ignoring calls, barely speaking. It wasn't heartbreak or shame, it was the realization that every piece she'd buried was crawling back into the light. Deep down, Meghan knows Vegas never forgets. Neither does the press. And neither do the people you leave behind. Her empire, the brand, the glamour, the titles was built on transformation. But you can only reinvent yourself so many times before the world starts asking, who were you before all this? And that's the question haunting Meghan Markle now. Not was she married, not did she lie, but the one that cuts deeper. What part of her was ever real? Because as the lights fade and the cameras move on, that question, not the crown, may be the one she can never escape. They say the higher you climb, the lonelier it gets, and for Meghan, the silence must be deafening. Every mirror she faces now doesn't just show the Duchess of Sussex, it reflects Rachel Meghan Markle, the woman she tried so hard to outgrow. The one who once dreamed under the neon lights of Vegas, not the chandeliers of Windsor. Because somewhere between ambition and royalty, love and power, she lost the line between becoming someone and pretending to be someone. Maybe that's why she fights so hard to keep her story straight, not for the world, but for herself. If the truth ever cracks through, the fairy tale might not just crumble, it might reveal someone entirely different beneath the crown. Those close to her whisper that she's more cautious now, fewer friends, tighter circles, stricter NDAs. It's not paranoia, it's survival. Because when your past refuses to stay buried, every shadow starts to look like a threat. And yet, maybe that's her tragedy. Not the secret wedding, not the age rumors, not the obsession with control, but the loneliness of living a life scripted down to every breath. She's mastered reinvention, but at what cost? You can erase records, silence witnesses, and delete timelines, but you can't delete yourself. And maybe one day, when the lights fade for good, the only truth left will be the one she tried hardest to hide, the girl who once wanted everything and lost herself getting it.